Oh. Hey there, Alga Talkers. Welcome to the AlgaTalk Studios. I'm Jack, and this is the premiere episode of AlgaTalkTV. So what are you going to see on this show, AlgaTalkTV? And the idea is to try to put together the podcast and the YouTube channel. Originally, the AlgaTalk was a standalone podcast, and now we're going to try to put it together. The idea was always to have a YouTube channel, and now in this way of trying to do this show, we're going to try to put them together in a way. And what we're going to see on AlgaTalkTV, now it's kind of important that we kind of discuss how each segment will be, just so you have like an understanding of what the show would be. So we've come up with kind of what the three segments of AlgaTalkTV is going to be. The first one is going to be what we're doing right now, which is kind of like a monologue, and news or updates, anything like that. That will be in the first about 5 minutes. This is the premiere episode, so we're gonna see how it goes. There might be more in the future, and then trying to put the podcast into this so that we can put together the podcast and the YouTube channel so it can be more visual and audio, and put that together. And the podcast editing is kind of a little bit of a way for me to be able to get myself to start editing episodes. Sometimes I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and during that time we've been trying to put together this little bit of a studio, if you can call it that. And during that time we came up with the idea of trying to put the podcast in the YouTube channel. Instead of making an entire podcast that then has visuals with it that would be like a half an hour to an hour long, we would try to like take little clips and have you guys listen to it, and we can discuss it afterwards. And that would be number 3. The third segment, the final segment, would be the show's wrap up. What we've learned from the different topics that we've gone over, and then we're gonna go from there. And I'm sure that this is gonna evolve just like algae has and the natural world. We're gonna see how it goes. So let's get started. This is our first monologue, and we're gonna try to get through it. I'm gonna be using the PowerPoint presentation I little put together. We're gonna throw in a little bit of clips also. So first on our agenda, it's World Algae Day, October 12th. Happy World Algae Day! And this actually is a very interesting day that was put together by a man named this is going to be probably a continuous, as I'm not going to get names fully right, but Jorg Ullman, J-O-R-G, and U-L-L-M-A-N as his last name. And he started this back in 2017. He's a German phycologist. He works as an algae farmer as I do. And him and other people around the world got together and chose October the 12th. And for me, slightly October the 12th kind of makes sense. As an algae farmer myself, we sort of have a harvesting seasons during the summer and springtime. Of course, the sun is out more in the northern hemisphere, and the algae grows a lot more. And with that, of course, we have more harvests of algae. And it was sort of October the 12th is sort of the ending of that season. We're about to go into winter and less sun. And less sun means less algae growth. So we're going to kind of celebrate World Algae Day together on this podcast. I do like one of the quotes that he has here is that algae is not a food of the future, but a food of the present. 70% of processed foods already have algae in it. I don't know if you guys actually know, I mean, some of you probably do, is that alginate, we have different kind of components that algae gives a lot from seaweed. But at the same time, a lot of it's in ice creams and in toothpaste and in food coloring. Microalgae is able to give off a lot of dyes. We're all on about nutrients that are always added in omega-3s and 6s, and we already know that algae is already in the supply chain. So basically this is the kind of a day that you're kind of put together, and it's World Algae Day to try to bring awareness to the world about algae, which is, of course, AlgaTalk is a big proponent of this, and we're all on board, and happy World Algae Day. So next we're going to chill out with some kelp and seaweed. This is from a clip we have on Facebook that I found that I actually shared on our AlgaTalk Facebook page. Check it out. And this is actually a clip within a larger segment that is actually from Nonalgae, hoping I'm getting that right, taken in the ocean of the northern Pacific, near the United States, Washington area. We kind of titled it Algae Performing the Dance of the Sea. It kind of shows how kelp moves around in the ocean. I thought it was very cool. It got a lot of likes. So what AlgaTalk is going to do right now, we're going to take that clip, put a little bit of chill music with it, and take a couple of seconds break, celebrating everything that is World Algae Day, and chilling out with some kelp underwater. Enjoy. So that was a pretty cool clip. I hope you guys took those seconds to relax, because now we're going to get onto a big issue. Which phytoplankton is your favorite? This was a sort of a poll that we put out on our Facebook page and on Twitter, to try to just kind of jokingly around figure out which phytoplankton is everybody's favorite. And we had about 144 people actually given their suggestions, their opinions, and these are the results at the end of it. We did share this around on different groups, and we had other people, of course, interact with it. It would be difficult to go to everyone and try to figure out each and separate ones, and basically it broke down into that diatom won by 40, and 30 would be the, oh, I'm gonna mess this one up, Coccolithophore, that was second with 30. The Caco, that would be this one right here. And of course, what was strange to me was there was a tie between cyanobacteria and dinoflagellates, and the of course the last one that I kind of slightly voted for was the green algae, because I work a lot with algae. You got to support the team you come in on, and I just thought it was very cool. On Twitter was a friend of the show, the Continuous Plankton Recorder Survey, if you guys can see that. Okay, it's got a nice little booklet that I got on one of my British Phycological Society conferences, interviewed them. Hopefully we're going to be using that footage in a future show. But what I like that they said was it's too hard to choose one. On Twitter it was a lot of resembling that, for instance, we embraced the diversity, a lot of choosing all of the phytoplankton because it was too hard to choose out of all of them. And I thought that was just a very cool sort of, symbolic view that all of us kind of work with algae in different ways, and there's so many of us that work with all these different types at the same time almost, as the continuous plankton recorder survey would be doing. So for the last part of this monologue, we're going to be looking at non-algae news. We're going to be doing this every now and then. Once again, the show's going to evolve. But in non-algae news, we have to talk about the man, the legend. Sir David Attenborough is in the news everywhere. You cannot get away from this man. Wonderfully so. But definitely he is out in the news, and he is coming out with a Netflix, the what he calls his sort of will and testament. The man is 94 years old. Hopefully we have him until forever, 120, but he's not going to be around forever, so he says that this is his sort of will and testament, trying to warn everybody about climate change, which is an important issue, and where I think we all believe that algae could really help the world a lot. And he's, one of a few that is trying to spread the word about how wonderful nature is, and instead of being, so angry at each other and being so combative, that we need to try to have a hobby for science and see science as sort of, nature is our sandbox. We can go out there and hike and play around and discover new things for us, even, just even it's a new discovery for us. And I think a lot of us understand that in algae, specifically, the microalgae world, the micro world that is being discovered in the past 50 years or so, with all the advancements in microscopes, is allowing us to see a brand new world. It's very exciting to see a lot of people taking interest in Sir David Attenborough, if you please, is that he started his Instagram during this whole time for the first time. He had one post in the beginning and already got, I don't know how many millions there are already, but in the first hour was able to break the world record of Jennifer Aniston. And hopefully maybe that shows us in the future that science not can be sexy, is sexy. And if we talk about it enough and people are interested, there's a lot to enjoy. So our next segment is going to be us editing the podcast. And the podcast that we are editing this next few weeks is going to be with Baruch Dach, who is the CFO of Algae, which owns Simply Good, which grows spirulina for production use. And we're going to take out clips and show you a little bit of visual with that, and try to give you a little bit of a glimpse into the podcast that we're putting together. And hopefully soon we'll have that on audio on full for you guys. So let's get started editing.
I think this industry is still in its very early stages. There are a few indications for that from the scale of the industry, which is tiny. We call it the algae industry, but globally we produce 20,000 tons per year, something like that. It's tiny. It's not a real industry. It's nothing that can create impact. Most of the profitable companies produce boutique, high-end products. Each company does A to Z. Everything from growing to processing to marketing to producing end products even. It's very singular.
what would be the future would be the concept that maybe you grow it, you sell it to someone that then markets it.
So we need to create that supply chain. We need to grow massively. We need to grow from 20,000 to 20 million in order to make a real change. We need to grow by 1,000 times of the current global capacity.
I thought this was an important audio clip for us to understand that on World Algae Day, to remember that we're still, like Baruch says, in the infancy stages of this algae industry that a lot of us work in. And there's a long way to go. And I think people that this company is Simply Good and many others, the company that I work for, AlgaTech, these companies and many others around the world are going to now start to set up this market, and already have been for a long period of time, are going to now sustain it, that it's going to be possible for other innovations to come out of algae. The more companies that we have doing this, it's going to create a mass that then allows for it to grow even more. I hate to make it a coronavirus sort of analogy, but it becomes systemic to the point that it starts to spread everywhere, and that's what we're going to try to do here. So let's hear the next clip.
I think the biggest thing is to have perspective. And right now we are an infant boutique industry. We're not producing food for the masses. And I think that's the future of algae. If this industry were to survive, we have to, as a society, a global society, we have to take up this challenge. It's not a challenge for a single person, a single company, or a single country even.
I think with this clip, we sort of understand that, I 100% agree with Baruch that we have to start to become the algae industry has to become a lot more in people's lives, or in reality, like Jorg Ullman reminded us before, the guy that started World Algae Day, is that we need to either also remind people that algae's in their lives all the time, and it's in their products. It's even beyond that, it's the oxygen that they breathe. It's all these little things that people need to be aware how important algae is in their lives. And, like he mentions, we are going to be hitting at some point in time, a lot of people say, a lot of scientists say, experts say that we're going to hit a point that there's not going to be enough food on Earth. And algae is going to be very important for that, being able to sustain the human life on Earth, and even beyond that, when we finally get to Mars and off the planet, algae is going to be very important in space for fuel, for food, for feed, for animals. We're going to have to, start to learn to work with nature a lot better than we have for a long period of time. And hopefully people like Baruch and the rest of us will start to do that. And I think it's great to hear people like that on World Algae Day, and that we're gonna be able to do this. That we're according to David Attenborough, these are struggling times. According to everybody, these are struggling times in climate change. And algae can be definitely one of the answers, or one of the solutions to climate change. So let's keep listening.
We need to harness all the big players. We need to harness technologies and principles from big industries. We took as a benchmark, we are looking at the dairy industry, because our fresh spirulina has a lot of similarities with dairy. From the protein composition to stability to applicativity, we can make things, as I said, like the yogurt and the milk and even meat from this fresh biomass. Mm-hmm. And I will talk about it in the next few slides, we can implement technologies from that industry. So we don't need to, like we've been doing in the algae industry, to reinvent the bicycle.
I thought this was an important clip to to highlight, because Baruch makes a good point about how a lot of the industries, dairy, as he explains, but a lot of the industries that already exist, a lot of those technologies, algae farms and factories can already start to use. We use plumbing components and centrifuges to separate the algae from the water. All those kinds of technologies already exist. So we are the algae industry is really starting to grow in the past 50 or so years. And now we're gonna see a new phase into it. And what's really a good concept is to use technologies that we already know work from other industries and implement them within the algae farm that you're using right now. A lot of farms, right now could use that kind of technology. What's important to highlight is that this is a growing industry that could grow even faster if we implement other technologies from other industries. And doing that can help us start to spread algae into larger markets. Already right now, when it comes to microalgae, not only when it comes to microalgae, but when it comes to macroalgae as well. We are overfishing the oceans, and if we do that with kelp and seaweed, it's going to be destructive to the biodiversity and the strength of the ocean. And us being able to grow things on land like fish, or seaweed, and microalgae is going to give us a leg up in climate change, to find a solution, to find new technologies that can help us in the future. So now for our final segment, our AlgaTalkTV wrap-up. And I think what we learned on this show, or at least what I learned, is that the importance on World Algae Day, that each one of us can help spread the awareness of algae and the importance of algae in our lives, and help other people understand that. And the more people that do, and just kind of see the little secrets about algae, about how they create the majority of the oxygen on Earth, and how they are in about 70% of the 70% of the products that we use. A lot of people don't know about this. So I think on World Algae Day, or any day really, try to find someone that doesn't know about algae, and either send them this video, or just give them a cool fact about algae, about how, did you know that seaweed that we love on sushi is algae, and it's not just the scum in your ocean or in your pool. That this stuff is really important to us and to Earth and to the climate. And if we're gonna live here, we are gonna have to learn from people like David Attenborough, and to take care of Earth. We're the people that, there's a reason why people have, in my opinion, a certain consciousness, is that we're custodians of this Earth, and it's up to us, and it's up to you, and it's up to me, and it's up to everybody, and if we all do our part, everything will be better tomorrow, hopefully. We pray. So that'll be the wrap up of this show, and if you like this, make sure to click that like button and subscribe, and also click that alert button. That's a little bell in the corner, and we'll hopefully have more videos for you coming up. Happy World Algae Day. And if you keep listening, we'll keep Alga talking.